A couple of weeks before the Project Athia trailer broke out, there were a couple of leaks that went a little bit under the radar. They talk about Final Fantasy 16, they talk about this new IP, and I'm going to go over them right now. So we all know that leaks you got to take them with a grain of salt. They could be complete bullshit. But the point of the matter is that some of these leaks have a little bit of validity to it. Some things that we actually saw in the trailer. So let's go into those here. This information comes from 4chan, and it was posted on May 28th. Now, we first saw the Project Athia trailer in June 11th. Now, the post here states, according to information I got from an insider very close to the marketing department of the Square Enix company, he has several important games to announce during the Summer Game Fest. Among these important announcements, there are also Final Fantasy 16 and the new IP of Luminous Studio, Crimson, Arbitrium, Agni's Anthology. Now, I just did a video concerning Agni's Philosophy, the tech demo that Luminous Studio came out with in 2012. How Agni's Philosophy is very similar to what we see in the Project Athia trailer. If this is the actual name, this Crimson Arbitrium Agni's Anthology, then it's pretty clear that it actually has some sort of semblance and connection to Agni's Philosophy. Crimson Arbitrium Agni's Anthology is an action JRPG game settled into a huge open world developed with the Luminous engine. The combat system is designed to place greater emphasis on elemental spells and how they can be modified by the main character in the environment, transforming them into barriers or long-distance projectiles, and with a significant impact in the environments in which they are left. And this is where I think that this leak is somewhat valid, because we've seen this, right? In Project Athia's trailer, we see the main character holding her hand up and these tree roots the nature of the world around it kind of rapturing up and surrounding the enemy wolf or dog here. The spells can also change the appearance and the ability of the weapons equipped and of the equipment as well, giving different power-ups and changing some of the abilities. This kind of gets into some of the general mechanics of the game that we can possibly look forward to, if this is true at all, of course. The games that inspired the developers in creating this game were Final Fantasy, The Four Heroes of Light, and Parasite Eve. Just interesting because the next leak I'm about to read kind of goes a little bit more into that. The game is in development for PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. It does not yet have a final launch date, but has a launch window set for the fiscal year 2022. Now, this is conflicting, however, can make a little bit of sense. It's conflicting in the sense that Project Athia was supposed to be PS5 exclusive. Well, PS5 and PC. There's nothing said about releasing it for Xbox, but I could see how this could be a switch here that they could make in the next couple of weeks, or maybe even just some misfired information. The second leak, on the other hand, gives more of a Final Fantasy 16 approach. The post begins almost in the exact same way that the last post that I went over did, basically explaining, hey, I got this information from a Square Enix insider who is close to the marketing department. There's going to be a couple of important announcements concerning Final Fantasy 16 and the new IP of Luminous Studio, Crimson Arbitrium, Agni's Anthology. The second paragraph goes in here a little bit more. Final Fantasy 16 is an action JRPG with strategic elements, with an open world exploration, with macro areas of cities and dungeons within the rich open world itself. They go on to explain here, the main director of the project is Naoki Yoshida, and the game has a classic fantasy concept but with steampunk elements, and has a battle system inspired by Dark Souls and Final Fantasy 15. This is where I'm really unsure. I don't know how to read into this other than stating that could be a conflation of different sources of information, because we all know that Naoki Yoshida has publicly stated, hey, I'm not directing Final Fantasy 16, so just cut it out with those rumors. The last piece of this post is a little bit difficult as far as maybe possibly translation, but it states here, The game will also see the return of the jobs system, but in a different key from the classic, and the ability to customize and change the equipments and even names of the characters. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with the last leak that I went into regarding the inspirations of Final Fantasy the Four Heroes of Light that obviously had a job/class system. So, as well as the fact that there was, in the first leak, they explained that the spells can change appearance and give certain enhancements to weapons and gear. So maybe there's a little bit of crossover in information. Who knows? I don't really know how to interpret this. I think the big takeaways are the fact that Crimson Arbitrium, Agni's Anthology, or if you want to call it Project Athia, it obviously has some sort of semblance to the Agni's philosophy that we saw the tech demo in 2012. The battle system seems to be much different than we've typically seen in Final Fantasies. There's more of this elemental spells interacting with the world. So, interesting stuff. We'll see if any of this actually comes to fruition. And as always, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on things. If you're excited or interested in Project Athia, the conflation of Final Fantasy 16, is Naoki Yoshida directing Project Athia? I know I've gotten a lot of backlash, but like, no, man, he doesn't even work in that same division. So, who knows, man? But we're gonna see here pretty shortly, I'm sure. I'm excited for it, and hope you guys are too.